Halala President Mugabe, halala. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President J.G. Zuma, His Excellency, the President of Zimbabwe, President R.G. Mugabe, the Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare, Reverend Makhenkesi Stofile, the Vice Chancellor of Fort Hare, Dr. Mvuyo Tom, Ministers and Deputy Ministers here present, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Premier of the Province of the Eastern Cape, Mr. Phumulo Masualle, members of Fort Hare Council, members of Parliament, delegates from the House of Traditional Leaders, and all traditional leaders with us here today, academics, students, and Fort Hare alumni present here, the Matthews family, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Every time I visit the University of Fort Hare, I always get overwhelmed by emotion. For walking through this campus is like walking through history. You have to have a feel and a sense of history to understand what I'm saying. We cannot help but think of a long list of illustrious alumni that have traversed these corridors over 100 years and students at this historic university. The contribution that the University of Fort Hare has made in the development of not only South Africa, but the whole of the continent Africa and the world at large is immeasurable. It is difficult to speak of the history of South African liberation struggle without mentioning the University of Fort Hare. Conversely, it would be a serious indictment if we were to talk about changing the socio-economic conditions of our people without putting institutions like Fort Hare at the epicenter of our development strategies. Fort Hare counts amongst very few universities that have produced several heads of state for different countries worldwide. These heads of state include, among others, Cesare Sekama, the President of Botswana, Ntsumo Kgetle, the former Prime Minister of Lesotho, Yusuf Lule, the interim President of Uganda, our beloved President Nelson Mandela, South Africa's first democratically elected president. It was President Mandela who once eloquently described the significance of Fort Hare in the following words, and I quote, "For young black South Africans like myself, it was Oxford and Cambridge, Harvard and Yale, all rolled in one," close quote. Our guest speaker this afternoon is part of this pantheon of distinguished African leaders that have traversed these corridors and sat on the desks of this institution. If time was on my side, I would have mentioned the alumni such as O.R. Tambo, Governor Mbeki, Dumanogwe, Robert Sobukwe, Ivy Matsepe Kasapuri, amongst others. And if you think for a moment that this institution only produced political leaders, wait a minute. I can mention, for instance, writers such as Ken Temba, Dennis Brutus, Mandla Langa, and Thuthuzile Machoba, who all went on to become the most prolific chroniclers of our history. It is prudent to conclude that Fort Hare was the academic bedrock for the development of African intelligence and epitomized the broader liberation struggles of our peoples in the whole of the continent. This is why, as we celebrate Africa Month, we commemorate this historic African institution for its academics, intellectuals, and graduates who truly sought to build a better Africa and a better world. This is by way of greeting all of you and preparing the Chancellor of Fort Hare to come here and give us his opening remarks.